Thank you so much for tuning in with me today. I'm excited to be here. Today, we are going to be discussing about closed doors. What causes doors to close? All of us have had a door to close on us at some point in our life. And sometimes we don't understand the reason why those doors close. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in with this discussion. So, all of us have had a door or some doors closed on us. In the religious community, they like to say that God closed the door, especially if they got fired on their job, versus saying that they got fired. They would rather say God closed that door. No, in actuality, you got fired from your job, and you have to figure out why did you get fired? What happened? What closed the door? Now, most people, when they get fired from a job, of course, they're going to blame it on um, someone external. They're going to blame it on their boss or perhaps maybe another coworker. But they're never, ever, almost never, ever are going to look within themselves and do self reflection and do self awareness to find out where they went wrong, because it always starts with you. Everything does. It all starts with you and it all ends with you. And so they most people don't self-reflect. They don't look at themselves to find out what happened, what did I do, or what type of behavior did I exemplify that caused that job or that boss to let me go or that job to fire me. We always point to something external, and we don't hold ourselves accountable to a higher degree or a higher standard of living. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about what causes the door to close. So when some people hear me say doors, we automatically think about a physical apparatus. But the door I'm referring to isn't a physical apparatus, something that you put your hands on or you step in front of, and then the mats that we have, they automatically open up the door for us. It's not that type of door. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about something that you with your hand that you physically pull and you walk through. However, the closed doors I'm referring to has to do with a barrier or a challenge. I'm going to put my glasses on. While an open door can indicate potential and choices and the unknown, it may also reflect personal growth and the journey of self discovery. Remember, we talked about the boss at the very beginning, you getting fired from your job and you not taking self reflection, you're not taking accountability, you're not looking at personal growth. So, open doors can indicate potential choices and the unknown. It also may reflect personal growth and the journey of self discovery, inviting you to step into a new phase of life or into consciousness. We live in a mental plane. We're going to talk about that later. Everything in this world is conscious. Conscious is conscious. There are no different type of consciousness, and we'll talk about that later. So in the metaphysical term, a word door often symbolizes transitions and opportunities and new beginnings. We all like new beginnings. I moved from excuse me, where I was located in Wisconsin, excuse me, to Georgia in order to start a new beginning. Sometimes we are afraid to move. We are afraid of the unknown when it comes to moving because we don't know what's going to happen. What's going to happen when I move to this new state? Is everything going to fall into place? Is everything going to collapse? But see, with me, I'm not afraid of starting over. I look at it from this point. I'm not starting from scratch. I am starting from experience the next time around. So it's nothing for me to move and go to a different location. So, in the metaphysical term, a door often symbolizes transition, opportunities, and new beginnings. It also represents the threshold between different states of being or experiencing. So, you can go through a door, or two people can go through a door and experience two different things. I'm going to give you the story that we have all probably have heard about two brothers. Two brothers grew up in the same household, and their father was an alcoholic. And one brother, all he did, he just drank alcohol the majority or all of his life. The other brother, he decided that he was going to go on and go to college, and he ended up graduating from college, and he had a very successful career. He didn't drink alcohol. Both of those brothers grew up in the same house. They had the same experiences while living inside of that house. But even though they had the same experiences, they both lived in two different states. Now, what do I mean when I say two different states? I'm talking about the mindset. Your mind is your real estate. Okay? Put that in the chat box. My mind is my real estate. And this is the most expensive piece of real estate that we have, and that is our mind. Your mind is the most expensive piece of real estate. And that's why I tell people, don't allow people or energies or negativity to live rent free inside of your mind, because it's the most expensive thing that you have. And it's just like if you own a masterpiece, an art piece, you wouldn't let everybody touch that. You would keep it probably in a glass casing in order to protect it. That's the same way we have to be when it comes to our mind. We can't control the first thought, but we can control the second thought that we have. So, thus, with your mindset, you may not be able to control what you're thinking the first time you begin to think it, but the second time around, you can, because you are creating the experiences. This is your state of being. So, it is my desire that we explore this concept further. What do you want to see? What's behind the door, meaning the challenges? What's blocking you, or what challenges are you facing right now? Because we all are facing something. We all endured the pandemic, and that pandemic seemed like it was going to last forever. And so out of that pandemic, a lot of people did not bounce back. Some people end up having to close their businesses. Some people end up losing their house. They lost their loved ones. They even lost their jobs. So, and even today, some people are still facing challenges as a result of the pandemic. What challenges are you facing right now? What challenges are you facing right now? And whatever that challenge is that you are facing right now, whatever that challenge is, it is a thing that will unlock the closed door to new choices, to new possibilities, and to new opportunities, as well as to a very new beginning. See, I look at challenges as an opportunity for me to evolve. If we look at challenges as a thing that someone is doing to us to prevent us from accomplishing a goal or to prevent us from experiencing something new, we will continue to repeat the cycle, or we will always be outsmarted, outwitted, and bamboozled every single time. Unless you discover what the cause is behind the door, you will be bamboozled. You'll be bamboozled out of new opportunities. You'll be bamboozled out of new choices and new beginnings, unless you can discover what's the cause behind the closed door. Now, remember, if you're just joining, we said that the closed door has nothing to do with the physical apparatus. It's not that thing that you're going to stand in front of that's going to open up before you. It's not that. It's not the thing you're going to put your hand on and pull the door open. It's not that either. This door that we're talking about is something totally different. And we're going to talk about that as we keep going on. So most people, and even in my times that I've had the opportunity to mentor people one-on-one, I have learned and discovered that most people only exist. We talked about that on yesterday. If you're living the same day twice, you are only merely existing. Most people only exist in this reality. They never truly are at all. I'm going to say it again. Most people only exist, never truly are at all. Your existence is predictable. You live, it's equation. We can figure out what you're doing. And most people react versus act. So someone does something to you, you react to it. Someone hit your car and you react to that. Someone stole your wallet and you react to that. Someone did something or broke into your house or did something, you lost that job and you react to it versus taking massive action. You're not taking action, you're reacting versus action. If we understand that every time we react, I was sharing this with someone the other day, and I was talking with them, and I was saying, every time we react, I really believe, and there's no scientific, facts to prove this, but I really believe that whenever we overreact, we cause an atomic explosion in our life and in everybody else's life that's around us, because reaction or reactive, that's what it is. It's like a reactive device that explodes and it causes chaos and wreaks havoc in the lives of those that are close to us or within close proximity of us. So it's best to take action versus reacting. It's best to sit and think before acting. Think about what you're doing. Think about what you're going to say. I was sharing it with a young lady the other day, and I was telling her, I said, you have to think about what you're doing before you actually do it. Otherwise, you're moving on impulse, and the only results you're going to get on impulse is disaster, because you're not putting in, an action plan as to what you're doing. You're just going off of impulse. And when you go off of impulse, you are just doomed to fail. You're doomed to collide. So, action versus reaction. Most of us don't realize that we exist in order that we may become something more than we are. Not because you won the Olympics, not because you got a brand new house, not because you got that new job or you got that grant money or you started your business. It's not because of favorable circumstances or any auspicious occurrences that are happening in your life. But you exist in order that you may become something more, and it's because and it's through the inner search for increased awareness. Now, if you have not heard me teach on inner awareness, I have studied self-awareness over and over. I've read so many books about self-awareness because I wanted to be self-aware. Why? Because I found or had found in my life that I was reacting versus action. I was reacting, I was exploding versus action. Action, which produces a favorable result. So it's through having increased awareness. Now, when I say awareness, I'm talking about awareness of who I am. We have to know who we are. We have to know why we do the things that we do. It is said that 10% of the people in this world are self-aware. When I was doing my study on that, that was astounding to me, to know that only 10% of the people in this world, and I know 90% of the people are not self-aware, and they think that they are. But you can look at their habits. You can look at how they live their life. If you're living with someone, just start looking at their life, look at their habits, and you will see that this person is a part of that 90% of the people that are not self-aware. Now, we have 8 billion people on this planet, and 90% of those 8 billion people are not self-aware. Only 10% of the people in this world are self-aware. I mean, like just like that right there. When I heard that, when I read that, that was like mind-boggling to me. It was mind-boggling to me. So to be, to become, these are the commandments of an evolving life, which is going somewhere, aspire to some unsealed heights, and the awakened soul answers the call. We begin to answer the call, we begin to seek, we begin to grow. And as you're growing, just like you take a balloon and you put it up to your mouth and you blow the air in it, it starts to swell or it starts to expand. That's what we're supposed to do here in this world. And I often tell people that if you're not growing, because you have to be growing, anything that's not growing is dying. Anything that's not growing is just like stagnated water. There is no life in stagnated water. And if you're not growing, or if you're not growing, that means that you're in stagnated water and there's no oxygen there. And eventually you will die without ever having come into authenticity, because that's what this is all about, you coming into authenticity. Now when I say expand, I'm not talking about expand your waistline. I'm not talking about eating until where you can't button up your clothes anymore. I'm not talking about that type of expansion, but I'm talking about a mental expansion, a spiritual expansion, or a conscious expansion. And those that choose not to grow and to do less, those people really are sinking into the reactive prison of the ego with all this pain and suffering, limitations, decay, and death. And the person, the man or the woman who lives through reaction to the world around him or about him, because really the world is about you. This is about you, is a victim of every chance in his environment. You're not happy. You're now happy. You're now sad. You're now victorious. You're now defeated. And you are affected, but never affecting. Somebody got to write that into the chat, because as the young people say, that was bars. You are affected, but you're never affecting. You're never affecting anything, but you're affected by everything that's happening around you. I know we like to call it triggers, but I call it you're being affected by everything that's happening. I have told people before, don't allow people to infect you. You affect them, but don't let them infect you with their negativity. You ever had those people that all they ever do when they call you is about something negative? It's about something, they're gossiping about somebody. That's the whole conversation. It's negativity and it's gossip. You are allowing those people to infect you versus you rising up as one who's aware and affecting the situation. I will not let people use me as a dumping can. I'm not a garbage can. You're not going to dump mess in me, then close the lid on, which is, hang the phone up, and then you just go on about your business. That's not what we're doing in 2024. We're actually getting ready to go into another year in 3 months. We're not allowing people to dump garbage, dump their negativity or their problems, especially when they don't want a solution. They are looking for a savior and not a solution. The problem and the answer is on the inside of you. But you have to get to a place where you are aware of who you are and you make a decision that I am going to be effective, or I'm going to affect my situation, but never allow it to affect me. Everything in this universe is mental. I know we say mind over matter, but really is mind and matter are one. Everything that is happening with you right now, you have ordered it from the mental plane. Every experience that I have ever experienced in my life, I ordered it. Now, that may be a shock to somebody that's listening to me, But everything, every experience that you have ever had in this reality, you ordered it. It was in your subconscious program. It was in your subconscious mind. And it lays dormant. You may say, well, I wasn't thinking about that. Well, maybe you were thinking about it 10 years ago. Maybe you had that thought when you were a child. And now you're living that experience out. Everything from the place that you live, from the car you drive, from the people that you associate yourself with, from the person that you decide to be a partner with, from the amount of money that you are making or that you're not making, it all starts with you. Every last bit of it. It starts with you. You are ordering the amount of money that you currently have in your bank account. You ordered that. You have ordered the job. And when you go to a restaurant, it doesn't matter if it's a fine dining restaurant. You look at that menu. You're looking at this menu and you ordering what you want off the menu. And the server brings you what you ordered. That's just like the universe. Whatever you ordered, the universe says, okay, here you go. How do you want that? Some people like to eat steak. How do you want that served to you? Do you want it served with force? Or do you want it served softly? Because I do believe that we're given little hints and little clues, but sometimes we don't take, or we're not consciously aware of the hints and the clues. So therefore, it comes with force. And then you realize, oh my God, I should have did this, or I should have took a break. Some of us are being placed on universal resets and timeouts and rest. So everything that you see in your reality right now is because you ordered it. The mind is mental and thoughts, and the emotions is attitude and mood. We think that when we hear people say, well, I'm mastering over life, folks posting on social media how they're dominating over life and, everything is coming to them. But mastery over life is not attained by domination over material things. Mastery over life is not attained by dominion over material things, but by your mental perception of the true cause and nature, or the true cause and effect. When you become mature or wise, you don't attempt to bend your reality or to bend the world to fit the way you want it to fit, or to coerce events, into a replica of your desires. But instead, you're to strive for a higher consciousness that enables you to perceive the secret cause behind all things. I believe that's what the secret is all about. We've taken the secret to be where it's about manifestation. Yet, I believe the secret is all about you knowing and becoming aware of the secret behind all things. Because everything has a cause and effect. Everything there is an effect based off what you're doing. Remember we said reaction and action, cause and effect. Everything that we do in this reality, there's going to be a corresponding effect that happens as a result of it. Doesn't matter what it is. So, if we can just give the slightest reflection to our own lives, we cannot help but be startled, because a lot of us seem to be dragged by life. Somebody that's probably going to watch this, you feel like life has been dragging you. You've been getting dogged in this reality by the same situations in all things, year after year. Time after time. It's like you're repeating the cycle over and over again. Life has been dragging you. You've been getting dogged by the same stuff. It's like when you're dating and you keep meeting the same type of people. It's not the people, it's not the man or not the woman. It's you. Every year you meet the same type of person. But really, truthfully, to truth be told, you're meeting you in those individuals because those people are a reflection of you. Everybody is a reflection of you. Everybody is. And if you're constantly being dogged or dragged, you got to check what's behind the door. You got to check what's behind the door. And the door has nothing to do with an external physical apparatus. You got to get to the root cause of all the failure. You got to understand the deadly reoccurrences is the source of why most people are frustrated. The deadly reoccurrences is the reason why there's mental illness. The things that we're constantly dealing with at the bottom of it, the bottom root of it all, is failure. But it can be avoided if we understand the cause behind the door. And when you start to understand what's behind the door and it becomes avoidable, it brings such complete emancipation and freedom of your mind and your spirit, because it deals with the electromagnetic field. And that electromagnetic field has the ability to change the kind and quality of your life. The electromagnetic field is your mind. Your mind is an electromagnetic field. Remember, we said your mind is the most expensive piece of real estate that you have in your portfolio. So what is an electromagnetic field? I'm just going to talk about it just a little brief. It's a field which produces an electrical charge of objects. It affects the behavior of the charged objects within the vicinity of the field, and it's one of the fundamental forces of nature. So there are two key components to the electromagnetic field. So number one, you should write this in the chat. If you're going to take notes, put this inside of the chat. The electric field created by electric charges. It exists even when no movement of the charge occurs. So it's like static. Static is there when there's no movement. You only know that there's static there when you begin to move. And the strength of the electric field is measured in volts per meter. And then you have the magnetic field, and it's created by moving electronic charges or current. Current is moved by air and water, but that's something we can talk about later. And it goes, the magnetic field, it deals with electricity flowing. And you can think about the Tesla car. It's measured by Tesla. The electrical, or the electricity is flowing. There's a current. There's a magnetic pull. Like they said, there's a bob and a weave, but it's like the current. It's like the current in the ocean. You can't really. Well, you can. So I'm just going to say it like this. The current is done by water and air. That's what makes up a current. So the electromagnetic field does not move itself. It's moved by a larger field. And behind this movement lies the power of that large field. Okay. So if you've ever studied physics in school, physics will prove that beyond all doubt that the human being exudes. We all have our own, or we have a collective magnetic field, but we have a magnetic field of our own. And it says that your magnetic field expands 25 miles outside of you. Just think about that. And we get hung up on small little things, and we allow small things to defeat us when our electromagnetic field expands 25, not miles, 25 feet outside of us. And that's still a lot. Your electromagnetic field expands 25 feet outside of you. So that means that you have the physical apparatus to control situations and circumstances that are happening versus you living a repeated cycle year after year. And then it ends up in failure. If you really realize the power that you have in your mind, you will stop allowing your thoughts to defeat you. You will stop being triggered by people out in the streets or by triggered by anything. But because we don't understand the power that our mind has, we just allow stuff to just overtake us. You can change the current of your life. You can change what is happening in your magnetic field. And the moment you change, and a moment of change occurs within itself, it is moved by a greater power, and it puts you in a new position. It puts you in a new field for new opportunities. It puts you in a new field for new potential. We all live in a mental plane. Everything is mental. This is a mental world that we live in. It's not a physical one. The physical is merely an extension of the mental. And it's an imperfect extension at that. Everything you see, everything you hear, everything you feel is not a hard, inescapable fact at all, but it's only the imperfect revelation of the senses of an idea held in the mind. Everything is consciousness. It's all conscious. Everything is consciousness. From where you live at, your neighbor, all of it is consciousness. And all of it is mental. Again, you ordered that. You ordered the neighbors that you have living around you because of this, the magnetic field, the mental plane. So what's the cause behind the door? The mind. It is the hidden eye. It's that part of you that you cannot see. It's that thing that the Bible talks about, the enemy. And if you don't get control over this thing, because again, the enemy, or the inner me, the inner self, the part that you can't see, plays tricks on you. It bamboozles you. It outwits you. It outwits the version of you that you want to bring to the forefront. I can tell you so many stories of being outwitted. Look, I'm not exempt from this. Just because I'm teaching it doesn't mean that I'm exempt from it. There are many times that I have been outwitted because I wasn't aware, because I did not control the second thought. And you allow the first thought to come, then the second thought coming in, you just whatever. You just lose control. You just react versus having action or taking action or thinking it out before you make a decision. To be conscious is just to be conscious. There are no different kinds of consciousness. The consciousness, or the I that's in your neighbor, is the exact same I that's within you. It may appear in different forms because you're attached to different sensory experiences, but that is only because it has allowed itself to be conditioned by your experience. My last thing I'm going to say, consciousness is never the result of experiences, but the cause instead. And wherever we find it, it is primarily aware of being it's primary aware of existing, of being I. There is only one basic consciousness in all of creation. And that consciousness takes up resident in all things and appears in different things, or differently according to the things into it enters into. But the essence of what conscious is never changed. Conscious is conscious. Conscious is conscious. To be conscious is to be conscious. It's never going to change, but it will appear in different things according to the thing it enters into. But the essence of who it is or what it never changed. Consciousness is intelligence, it's awareness, it's energy, it's power, it's creativity or creativeness, and stuff from which all things are made. Consciousness is that alpha and omega. It is the first cause of everything. And everything in nature contains all the power of nature, just like everything in nature contains all the power of consciousness. Everything is made up of one hidden stuff, and that hidden stuff is consciousness. So what's the cause behind the closed door? It's that little self, it's that little enemy, or some people want to call it a doppelganger, but it's an entity within you that's always fighting you. And I just said the enemy, the inner me that's always fighting you, that's always fighting this version of you that you've seen in your mental eye that you've wanted to become. And it puts up a fight, and it doesn't want you to become this version. And every time you feel like you're going to step forward into something new or into this new place, this inner me, this little person, this entity within you says, no, hold up, wait a minute. You ain't ready for that. I like this old version of you, and I'm not going to let you progress. And it bamboozles you, and it outwits you every single time. And then you find yourself repeating the cycle over and over again. You've been outwitted. There's a book that somebody wrote that's called Outwit the Devil. And we think that it's talking about an entity outside of us. No, outwit the devil that's within you. There is nothing that you got to fight externally. You got to fight the inner things that are happening within you. Otherwise, you will never be the version that you have seen in your mental eye, not these, but your mental eye, the imagination or the imagi that you want to see. You never become that version. It all starts here. So the cause behind the door, here. The subconscious, the mental. All right. I thank y'all for tuning in. If you have any questions, anything you want to say, you can put it in the chat. If not, I will see y'all the next time. That I hope y'all have enjoyed this. It was exciting. Preparing myself to come on. And I had the thought yesterday when I got off that I was going to talk about the door, the cause behind the door. That's the reason behind the door. Reason why things are not happening is because of the mindset. If we can change our mind, not necessarily saying change it about you, but just change the way you perceive you and how you perceive situations that are happening. Building a community here. I thank you for being a part of that community, and thank you for joining me every single day. Until next time, guys. See ya.